Hey there, this is Andrew bringing you another Keyforge deck review. This one is going to be Gehrig Loquacious Cabin Scofflaw. It is an AOA deck that came from the Vegas Vault Tour side events. I didn't get to timing reasons. I didn't get to do the side events. My daughter, my nephew, and my brother-in-law formed up a team together, and they gave me one of their extra decks. So that I could be with them in spirit, and so this is that. It is Shadows, Untamed, and Logos, and yeah, it's a pretty solid one. So let's go through it. Helperbot is a 1-power robot. After you play it, you can play a non-Logos card this turn. This really helps just rip through a deck and get cool stuff done, so I love it. Hexbion is a 2-power AI with Destroyed, Archive Hexbion, and the top card of your deck. It's interesting. I've been having my feelings on this turn lately. I think it's okay, but if you're trying to archive stuff that's not Logos, it can actually start to clog you up and feel annoying. So I've been having different feelings about that lately. Lab Work gains you an Amber, archive a card. We have 2 of those in here. That is fantastic. Pip Pip is a 2-power human scientist. This is after an enemy creature reaps, stun it. Good for slowing down the game. Titan Librarian, we have 2 of these. It's a 4-power cyborg scientist that says at the end of your turn, if Titan Librarian is not on a flank, archive a card. Yeah. ZYX Researcher, 2-power human scientist. When you play it, you archive the top card of your deck or the top card of your discard pile, your choice. So you have to decide before you look at the top of your deck. Quantum Finger Trap, gain an Amber. It's an artifact, an item. It says, action, you can swap the positions of 2 creatures in a battle line. Sloppy Lab Work gives you a bonus Amber. When you play it, you archive a card and discard a card. Really good. Crazy Killing Machine is an artifact and weapon. When you exhaust it, you discard the top card of each player's deck, and for each of those cards, you destroy a creature or artifact of that card's house, if able. If 2 cards are not destroyed as a result of this, destroy Crazy Killing Machine. And this is... It's a solid effect. It's really good. It's better the more houses you share with your opponent, because if both cards that you discard, the one off your deck and their deck, match something on their side of the board, you get to destroy 2 of their things and none of yours, which is a great deal. Shard of Knowledge, it's a better Library of Babel. It's an artifact, an item, and shard, and when you exhaust it, you draw a card for each friendly shard. That means we'll get at least one other shard in this deck. I'll give you a spoiler alert, it's just 1. But we will get one other shard in this deck, which means if both are out, then this draws 2 cards, which is pretty good. Alright, on to Shadows. By the way, really quick before we move to Shadows, I'll just say, Logos, when you get a Logos spread like this is fairly classic, right? What we want to do is use this to get ourselves a lot of turns where we're playing 4 or 5 cards of the same house in a turn. A lot of 4 or 5 cards played turns through archiving stuff, through getting to play to house cheat, getting to getting to draw extra cards. We are looking for opportunities to maximize, to condense what we're able to do in a single turn by loading cards up so that we can have 4, 5, 6 cards played in a turn. Okay, so that's what you do with a Logos set like that. Alright, on to Shadows. We have Bad Penny. It's a 1-power human thief. With Destroyed, return it to your hand. Often discarded. Why do you discard Bad Penny? Well, because, and I know I've covered this before, but I say it a lot, and it's good to review sometimes. So, Bad Penny can be used to set up interesting combos with cards that want to kill a friendly creature. Cards that maybe something like Throwing Stars that does a damage to a creature, and if that creature is destroyed, it gains you an Amber. In Coda, things like Seeker Needle, or in either set, Mac the Knife, who can do a damage to a creature, gain an Amber, although he could just reap. Things like Pawn Sacrifice or Life for Life that, again, want to sacrifice a friendly creature. So there are things like that This is really good with because you get the use out of it. It comes back to your hand, and then you can do whatever you want with it. But absent those combos, it's small and it's likely to just get killed by your opponent, and then it clogs up your hand. So I don't want this to come back to my hand right before I take an untamed turn, for example, because that means it's one less card that I'll draw at the end of my turn. And there is usually something I'd rather play than that. So if I don't have a specific combo in mind, I'll probably discard it. Okay, keep moving. Gamgee, 2-power Elf Thief with Elusive. After Gamgee reaps, if your opponent still has more than you, now it's important you gain the amber first, and then you check. Does your opponent have more than you? If yes, then you steal one. Pretty good. We do have Life for Life in here. Gives us an amber, sacrifices a creature, perhaps the Bad Penny, to deal 6 damage to a creature. Importantly, if your opponent doesn't have creatures on the board, you'll be forced to deal that 6 damage to one of your own. So I was playing in an event today where I had a deck with a couple of these, and I did something else for a turn to give my opponent a chance to drop a couple creatures on the board so I would have good targets for this. It was weird, but it worked out correctly. We have 2 copies of Sucker Punch. This gains you an amber. It has alpha, so it has to be the first thing you do on step 3 of your turn before you play it or use any other cards. And yeah, when you play it, it gives you an amber, and then you deal 2 damage to an enemy creature, and if that creature is destroyed by this effect, you archive Sucker Punch, which is really great. It's a really nice... It's a very good tool for dealing with small, annoying creatures like Dusk Witch, an opponent's Gamgee, Bingle Bang Bang, Grey Rider, Professor Sutterkin, you name it, all those sorts of things can be taken out with Sucker Punch, and then you get the Sucker Punch back to use later. If you have to use it on something bigger and it doesn't kill it, that's fine too. Swindle is alpha and omega, meaning it's going to be the only thing you do on your turn. And when you play it, you steal 3 amber, which is pretty good in the right circumstances, but not always. So sometimes I will ditch this. It's a good archive target if I, okay, I'm going to archive this, and then I'm going to do other things and leave that for maybe a clutch turn. We have Umbra, 2 of those, 2-power Elf Thief with Skirmish, and after it fights, you steal 1, so you're doing a little bit of damage here and there and stealing. That's a pretty good setup. Yancy Gang is a 5-power Elf Thief with action, steal 1. And Dusk Runner is an upgrade that gives a creature the ability reap, steal 1. If you put this on Gamgee, you'll reap gaining 1. You will definitely steal 1 from the Dusk Runner, and you might steal 1 from the Gamgee effect. If that happens, let's imagine a scenario where you have 4 amber and your opponent has 6. You can reap with the Gamgee going to 5. Choose to trigger the Gamgee effect first, stealing 1. Now you're at 6 and they're at 5, and then trigger the Dusk Runner effect second, meaning you go to 7 and they're at 4. So you as the active player can choose how some of that stuff goes in ways that are advantageous to you. Oubliette, also great for dealing with those small pesky creatures. It just purges a creature with power 3 or less. Very, very nice. And it's just gone. I love to do this to things like Ronnie Wrist Clocks, where I just really, really want it gone. It can also be nice for something like a Dust Imp. If you purge it this way, it doesn't get destroyed, so it's gone and did not get destroyed. It just went straight to purge. Alright, and then lastly in Shadows we have our other shard, the Shard of Greed, which is an artifact item shard, and when it exhausts you gain 1 amber for each friendly shard. I haven't had a game yet where this worked out to get me a lot, but potentially, doing that for 2 amber is potentially pretty good, so I wouldn't knock it. Okay, on to the Untamed. We have a Dusk Witch. This is a definitely must-deal with threat for your opponent, so it's a 1-power human witch. With Omega, when you play it, your step 3 is going to end. It is elusive, but that Omega ensures that you're not going to get the effect of it until your next turn, which gives your opponent a chance to do something about it. Because it's only 1 power, there's a decent chance they'll be able to do something about it. But if not, then thenceforth your creatures will play ready, which is a pretty ridiculous effect. Full Moon says for the remainder of the turn you gain an amber each time you play a creature. Glimmer is 1-power fairy with alpha, and when you play it you return a card from your discard pile to your hand. Regrowth gives you an amber and returns a creature from your discard pile to your hand. We have 2 copies of Save the Pact in here, or Save the Pack. I'm not sure how I feel about that. It's a little rough. I don't think, I'm just double checking, looking ahead. Yeah, we don't have They're Everywhere, so I think these are mostly discards. But they could come in handy sometime, but I just wouldn't count on these to do a lot of work for us. Song of Spring gives you an amber, and you can shuffle any number of friendly untamed creatures from your hand, discard pile, or battle line back into your deck. Tantadlin is a 9-power tree. It only does 2 damage when fighting, but after it fights, you discard a random card from your opponent's archives. This is a really good combo breaker. I think quite underappreciated. It's not. I'm not usually very excited when I see it, but sometimes it will go off, and your opponent will go, "Oh, I forgot it did that," and it will be very good for you. So maybe that's its big superpower, is flying stealth mode, but occasionally it can be game impactful. Bumblebird is a 9-power beast and insect, or 1 power rather. Did I say 9? I definitely meant 1. It has alpha, and after you play it, you put 2 +1 power counters on each other friendly untamed creature, of which we don't have a ton. But if your Duskwitch does live, and then you get to do this on the next turn, then there's hey, it'll probably stick around. Is an upgrade. Gives you a bonus amber, and it says that creatures not on a flank cannot fight this creature. Importantly, you can't get that on your Duskwitch on the same turn you play the Duskwitch because of the Omega, so it would be better if you could. Grasping Vines gives you a bonus amber and lets you return up to 3 artifacts to their owner's hands. That could be pretty good. And lastly, we have Nepenthe Seed, which is an artifact with an item that has Omni. Sacrifice it, return a card from your discard pile to your hand. So, okay, altogether, this has some pretty good stuff. Nepenthe Seed could do some work. We have some amber generation, but nothing really crazy. We have some pesky creature control. That's good. We have some steel, but it's mostly slow. And we have a Logos that will really streamline our deck. I feel like this is a solid, middle of the road deck. It's not gonna do great, but it definitely has some things that it can do, that it can pull off. And it's, again, solid, just middle of the road, does stuff fine, and highly usable, but not out of the park crazy deck. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it, and maybe I will see you forging some keys soon.